When I started my YouTube channel, um, I didn't do it for the money. I didn't thought it's going to be a job. I didn't even think I'm going to get paid. I was dirt poor, living in a one-room apartment, desperately struggling to make money to pay for my university bills. And I saw something online that genuinely frightened me. It was something that got me to save what little money I had in order to buy a microphone. And despite the fact that I didn't have a lot of free time because I was looking for a part time job at the time and I was also at university studying, I did my best in order to give my 2 cents on the internet and give my opinions about the thing that frightened me. The thing that frightened me was the beginning of Gamergate. It was a sex scandal involving a female game developer and several game journalists. And the reason it was frightening is because for the first time ever, even though I was using the internet since the 90s, I saw different corporations, large corporations, acting in unison. Anyone who tried to have the conversation about that sex scandal would get instantly banned. They would get banned off of Reddit. They would get banned off of 4chan. They would get banned off of Twitter. They would get banned off of video gaming websites. And several YouTubers even got falsely DMCA'd. So for me, it was worrying because all of these corporations that allegedly should be competing with each other and shouldn't have anything in common, they were working in unison in order to silence a topic off the internet. And at the time, I was worried because if the government would get a hold of this power, if the government could just force these corporations to do what the government wants, it could definitely shape public opinion in whatever way the person controlling these corporations would desire. Um, and I think that after what happened with Alex Jones, my fears are becoming a reality. We live in an age where social media and online access is incredibly important in order for a person to function a normal life in society. I was speaking with this guy who opened an internet cafe, and he's a friend of mine and was doing hirings for people. And I asked him out of curiosity, like, well, what do you look for when you look at a resume? And he actually said that the thing he looks for is the Facebook of the person that he's hiring. Because the Facebook apparently is very telling. He was looking for social, outgoing people that would sit behind the cashier and they would interact with the client. So he was looking at the likes, what that person would have on Facebook, and also the pictures to see if that is an outgoing person or not. And I asked him, well, what do you do if the person doesn't have a Facebook? And he said, oh, well, I don't even consider them. I throw the resume away. And the guy had quite a lot of resumes, so he could afford to do that. And that made me think, it's like, well, I think he's got a point. Like, you can know a lot about a person just by looking at their Facebook page. And this is the kind of digital era that we're living in. You need an online presence in order to get a job. You need an online presence in order to keep a job. What you say online can have powerful ramifications. In some countries, the police can come at your door if you say something negatively online. And the problem with this is that people aren't educated in this. Like, for most people, going online is like a hobby. It's something that's supposed to be fun. They don't treat online as it's some official documents that might hurt your career or that might get the police to come at your door. And some sort of education like this apparently would be required because what you post on Twitter can actually be used against you several years from now. I find this trend very worrying, but it's not the world I would personally choose, it's the world I live in. So, unfortunately, you need to be very careful with what you say online. But not only that, imagine you get banned for hate speech on Facebook. And you're a student at a very liberal college, or maybe you're working at a very leftist institution. The simple fact that you got banned for hate speech is enough to be used against you as an accusation, as a sort of criminal record, if you will. Because I'm looking in the press and I see articles, and usually whenever they name drop friends of mine like Sargon of Akkad, they also mention he's banned from Twitter, like it's some sort of criminal record, like it's some sort of online stain that the person has. And it's very damaging to one's reputation to be banned from one of these things nowadays. And it's also interesting because if you want to start a business, let's say I was thinking about starting a cat cafe, maybe in 1 year or 2 years. And once you start your business, you want to promote it. You wanna go online and use social media in order to promote your business. Without it, you're at a major disadvantage. Again, you just can't function anymore. Society has moved to the point where online is not a luxury as it used to be. It is a requirement. If you don't know how to navigate the internet, you have a handicap. You are at a huge minus compared to everyone else. Human dialect has moved on. Human dialect is now on the internet. And what happened to Alex Jones, in my opinion, it is incredibly frightening. I mean, put yourself in his shoes, right? Like, put yourself in the position where all the social media companies decide to ban you. All of the social media companies, besides Twitter, decide that you are a hateful person. You're spreading hate speech. You're a radical. You're an extremist. How exactly are you going to go on in society anymore? Like, your entire family notices that it has happened. Like, your entire family and friends and people that you're trying to impress, maybe like colleagues at work or your boss, superiors, girlfriends, whatever, they're going to see that you are a hateful person, that you're promoting hate speech, that you're putting people in danger. If you have a business, well, how can you promote it? You can't anymore, right? He's not allowed to have another Facebook account. He's not allowed. Like, if he wants to open a restaurant, he can't promote that himself. How is he even supposed to network with people if he doesn't have a social media account? You know, I asked my parents how it was like before the internet, and apparently every Saturday and Sunday night, like, people would go out. They would always meet in real life, and it was like big chunks of people because there was literally nothing to do inside. You didn't have anything to do in home, so everyone would go out, and that was the way people would network. You know, people would throw parties and they would go to each other's houses and stuff like that. So, for instance, if you lived in a rural area, the tavern, the inn, the bar, that was the place where after work hours people would gather, and it was bustling with people, and that was how you would network. But nowadays everyone is online, everyone is using the computer. If you are not allowed to use any sort of social media or any sort of online account, you're isolated. You're basically outcasted from the community. It's like an online ghetto where it's just you. It's a very awful type of punishment. It's social isolation. And I think Alex Jones is a huge warning. It's the idea is that if you become too popular, pushing a certain type of political ideology, well, you can be Alex Jones. Maybe there's going to be a word in the future where you've got Alex. You've got Alex because he's the first person that actually had this happen to him, as far as I know. And there are people who go like, well, it's not political. It's because Sandy Hook, or it's because Pizzagate or whatnot. I don't believe that bullshit. I don't believe it for a second because he got banned from LinkedIn. What exactly he did? Like, he doesn't even post there. Like, that was just a virtue signal from LinkedIn in order to show that, yeah, they're with every other social media. And they're banning Alex Jones just to make a political statement, to show that they're part of the in-group. They're with the clique. And you have, like, feminist organization, radical leftists. You got anarchists. You get journalists and political activists, all of them salivating and demanding more. They want more. They want more on Alex Jones. It's like, why is Twitter allowing Alex Jones? And there's articles upon articles that happened yesterday. It's like, look, Pinterest, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, they all banned Alex Jones. Why isn't Twitter doing anything? And they're trying to pressure Twitter in order to ban Alex Jones. Don't tell me this is not an orchestrated event. Like, to me, it is so disgusting. It's like imagine an alternative universe where you would see Richard Spencer, Jared Taylor, and the Daily Stormer pressuring the social medias in order to take the Young Turks down. That is how disgusting it is for me to see this. Because free speech, I keep hearing this a lot. It's like, well, it's the First Amendment. The government doesn't get... Like, that is a piece of paper that guarantees that the government is not going to come in. But the piece of paper was made because of a principle. Because people got together and said, you know what? I think it would be a best society. It would create a better society if people could just share ideas. If people could just share opinions. That is what free speech is. It is, at the end of the day, it's a moral statement. You can make a moral observation about a person and say, well, this guy doesn't believe in free speech. I think it's an immoral person. That is what it is. You either believe in it or you don't. And free speech is when it's a person that you heavily disagree with, but you want them to keep talking. And you don't want them to keep talking in order to do them a favor. That's not what it is. It's not like I want Cenk Uygur to spew his hate because I want to do him a favor. No. It's because if Cenk Uygur is allowed to speak, then I have the guarantee that everyone is allowed to speak. I have the guarantee that I am allowed to speak. I'm doing myself a favor by wanting to live in a society where everyone is allowed to speak. And the restrictions should be the exception, and they should be very clear. Like, for instance, you're not allowed to have child porn, right? But that is something that is very obvious what child porn is. Anyone looks at a picture and says, yeah, this is fucked up. This is child porn. You should be arrested. Meanwhile, you got hate speech and concepts like Islamophobia. What the fuck is that? Like, is there like how do I even know? Like, if I want to criticize Islam because I'm an atheist and I don't believe in any type of religion, how do I even begin to do it? How do I know what I'm allowed and what I'm not allowed to say? Like, if I legitimately do not have any single hate towards Muslims, the practitioners of Islam, but I don't like the ideology, how can I even begin? Like, that is like saying just because you're a leftist and you disagree with right-wing ideology, well, you're against right-wingers. Obviously, I think people from the far left, they don't make the distinction between being against an ideology and actually being against the people who practice it. You can criticize something, and at the same time, you can look at a person who believes that ideology and say, well, we disagree on this issue. Imagine if everyone would just punch each other all the time for any single sort of disagreement. It would be madness. And this is not how society functions. You should be able to interact with someone even though you disagree with them. And when you disagree with them, you should bring arguments forward and support your point of view. But yeah, I guess I went a little bit too far on the rant. The thing is, all these social media accounts, if you think about it, they're actually in the same city. They're very close to one another. I think it's like a 200-mile radius or some shit. They talk with each other. They know each other. They have the same economic interests. And they're working together. They're not a monopoly. But when they're working together and they cooperate with each other, does no one find it weird that is the exact same terms of service on every single social media platform? The exact one. It's almost like copy-paste. It's almost like they came to agree with the fact that, yeah, this is what you're not allowed to say. And if you look at the terms of service, it doesn't really allow for much right-wing views. I mean, if you look at the right-wing, and I'm talking about the actual right-wing that's popular, right? Like the people who elected Donald Trump, the United States president, what are their main concerns? Well, they're anti-immigration. They're pro-nationalism. I suppose you could say that they're anti-Islam. Not anti-Muslim, anti-Islam. They're pro-meritocracy, they're pro-capitalism, and they're definitely against diversity quotas, because that goes against meritocracy. So, what exactly are you allowed to say in order to promote this ideology on social media right now without breaking the terms of service. Like the only reason people are able to function is because the terms of service aren't applied strictly. They apply them willy-nilly. They apply them to whomever they want to apply. For instance, the Young Turks should have been banned for hate speech long time ago. Like, how many people did the Young Turks have that actually ended up shooting someone? They had that Bernie bro who shot a judge. They had that that guy who shot 3 policemen, right? Like, if this is the way we do discourse, because I understand Alex Jones had a person that did the Pizzagate thing, right? He bought a shotgun and went to the pizza store, right? And that is why Alex Jones is spreading hate, because of that incident. Well, by that standard, right, shouldn't the Young Turks also be in hot water? Shouldn't they also get community strikes and stuff? But again, like, they don't apply the standards equally. I'm pretty sure, like, you give me a channel, just give me a channel that has 1,000 videos and talks about politics, and I'll immediately show you videos that break the community guidelines. And I will show you where they're doing hate speech and where they're breaking the TOS. But again, like, the TOS is made in such a way that gives so much power to these corporations that they can just decide who gets to stay and who doesn't. And the reason they do this is to, number one, be very damaging when you're actually banned from one of these things. Because as I said, it's like a digital criminal record. It's like, well, you're... And honestly, I don't understand why people don't sue. Like, I legitimately don't understand. Like, Alex Jones could sue for slander. Like, you say I'm doing hate speech. You say I'm promoting hate. You say that I am encouraging people to do violence. You need to prove it. And if you can't prove it, you need to give me money. There was a guy in Germany who did exactly that on Facebook. They banned him for hate speech. So the guy sued Facebook and said, look, in Germany, hate speech is a crime. You're basically implying that I'm a criminal. And they had to reinstate his account. Now, I find it really interesting with Twitter and Donald Trump. Basically, the US government deciding that Twitter is a public utility. Well, if it's a public utility, it should be like electricity, like water, the water company, right? Like the electric company. The water company is not allowed to cut the water supply over from a person for political opinions. The only way a water company can cut your water if you don't pay it. So why is it the same with Twitter then? Well, what about the phone company? And honestly, like, this is the Orwellian thing that literally scares me, because if we are to give morality to these companies and not call it out, right? Like, I'm not saying the police should come in and arrest them, or I'm not saying that there should be legal interactions. But what I say, like, people should be able to say, yeah, that's fucked up, that's immoral. Like, you know, a company who in China hires children to create a product, right? Just because it's permissible there and they can get away with it, we can look at that company and say, yeah, you're pieces of shit for doing it. You are disgusting for doing it. We can cast a moral judgment and maybe not purchase from them. Or maybe encourage people to create an alternative or some shit. But it has to start from somewhere. It has to start from where people can look at it and say, yeah, I disagree with what you're doing. I think it's wrong. Because otherwise, like, if you're saying it's a private company, it can do whatever it wants, well, okay. What about if the bank wants to shut down Alex Jones's accounts? What if the person who loans, let's assume Alex Jones would have rent. What if the landowner would say, yeah, you're not allowed to use the land anymore? What if the grocery store knows it's Alex Jones and they refuse to sell him? Like, where would you draw a line? Would you even say, like, at one point that, okay, maybe this is too far? And I'm talking from a moral point of view. Like, just looking at that as would you like it happen to you, basically? Would you be okay if this shit happened to you? Or happened to your wife, or your kid, or someone that you know? Would you be fine with it? Because, again, it's not about Alex Jones. It's the principle. It's the principle. Because if you have a principle, any person that it's happening to, you should be able to say, yeah, that's fucked up. A lot of people are afraid of the government to gain too much power. And I completely understand about that fear. It's a legitimate fear. Yeah, the government should never get too much power, because then it becomes oppressive, becomes authoritarian. But people need to wake the fuck up. We live in a world where corporations have more money than governments. where they have access to your emails, they have access to every single piece of communications that you got. They got access to your bank accounts. They got access to your passwords. They got access to your private photos. They have access to a lot of shit. Why is no one upset about the fact that corporations can also be very authoritarian? I mean, look at China, right? China is a communist nation. Well, they're coming out of it, but they still have like very authoritarian elements compared to the West. They rarely use the government to punish people and to oppress people. They use social media to oppress people. They have a point system on social media. Basically, if you ever say something against the official party stance, like you correct the history that the party is telling you that happened, or you hold different political leanings, or you're promoting some sort of activism that goes against the establishment, they remove points from your social media. And not only that, but the people who have you as friends, they also get their points removed. So what's really happening is that you will get public pressure to stop talking or stop sharing some certain views. So the government doesn't even have to do jack shit. Because what those points are is when you want to get a bank loan, when you want to get a job, when you go to purchase a new car, they look at your points. And if you don't have enough points, well, you don't qualify for the bank loan. You don't qualify for this and that. So people need their points. And when they see someone on social media that's losing points and is becoming persona non grata, the government doesn't even have to do anything. People are going to isolate that person. It's a very scary thing. Imagine this, right? Like, there used to be towns in the United States which were owned by corporations, like a mining town. And it was like a corporation that owned the town. Imagine if the corporation would basically say, yeah, we're not going to allow this type of newspaper here because it's talking against us. You know, like no one is allowed to have these types of news. That's pretty much where we're at. Instead of the corporation that controls the town, you have like a couple of corporations in Silicon Valley that they control all the information. And I don't think the people in the past who made legislation, who made the laws, I don't think they foresaw this type of future, which is absolutely here. And maybe some laws would be required. Like, people are suggesting a Bill of Rights for the internet. I agree, okay? I know a lot of people don't want the government to interfere in the private sector. There's a lot of right-wingers who are really skeptical of the government. But it's inevitable. The government already is on the internet. The government is already online. Like Angela Merkel and Zuckerberg were talking. Germany demands that YouTube removes videos having hate speech within 24 hours. The government is already infringing. It's already here. It has happened. Now we need the other side to have a say, but maybe try to say enough. You know, maybe it shouldn't be possible to just remove a person from the online space. And I know some people say, well, you know, maybe we can have competition. Maybe it's the free market and the free market is going to fix itself. And while usually I agree in most cases, I'm looking at what's happening to BitChute and Gab AI. Like, the person that's giving you... I don't really understand how the internet works, to be honest. But I understand there's like a domain. You know, like that there is basically a server, and then you get a domain. And the domain can actually kick you off. The ISP can block you. There's actually in the United Kingdom, of course, there is an ISP who already blocked Breitbart because it has hateful content. It didn't block it in people's homes, but if you're going into a public place with the Wi-Fi and you're from that ISP, you can't go to Breitbart. So basically, like, even if you are a competitor and you want to build something new, the infrastructure can also kick you off. So you'd have to build the infrastructure. And then you can say, well, all right, so let's build the infrastructure first, and then, you know, competitors like from Gab and other people can be there. But you need money to do that, and then the banks and PayPal can say no. So you'd have to start from absolute scratch. You'd have to start from the Stone Age. First to have like banks and and monetary system that are willing to support you, then you build the infrastructure, then you get the websites, and maybe then people are going to come over to your place. It is absolutely bewildering. This should not have happened, but apparently it did. Um, I just felt the need to get this off my chest. There's a lot of things that I'm worried about. I didn't even expect that this would happen. To be honest, like I guess it happened to Daily Stormer, and when it happened to the Daily Stormer, I did point out that I'm very worried that eventually it's going to happen to people more on the right, and now it's happening to Alex Jones. I guess the next target might be Paul Joseph Watson. Then they maybe going with Lawrence Southern. They have, like, honestly, Lawrence Southern and her thing with the refugee boat where she throw a flare. That's gonna stick on her. That's gonna stick, and a lot of people again will refuse to defend her because of that. And it's going to go down, and you're going to see Lawrence Southern being persona non grata, and you're going to see Stefan Molyneux, and after that they're going to move to Crowder. They're going to move to Prager University. And they're going to go they're going to go from the top and slowly down. And they start with the people that no one wants to defend. They start with the people that no one gives a shit about. They start with Alex Jones. And you can see a lot of people, oh, it's Alex Jones, who cares? They start with Daily Stormers. It's like, oh, of course they're Nazis. No one gives a shit. And then they move down to Alex Jones, and it's like, oh, Sandy Hook and blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to go to Lawrence Southern, and people are going to be like, oh, well, refugee boats. And by now, people are already used to the idea that it can happen. And not only that, when someone else, like if they would have gone, let's say, for Steven Crowder right now, well, Alex Jones would kick a big stink about it, right? You'd have Lawrence Southern, Stefan Molyneux, like everyone on the right just massively talking against it and making it a very unpopular decision for the social media companies to do. But if you already remove Alex Jones and you remove Lauren and you remove Stefan and you remove all these people, when they go after Steven Crowder, who the fuck is going to talk about? Who's going to defend him? No one will care. Not to mention, people are already used to the idea. Very fucked up, in my opinion. Now, if you managed to watch until this part, I will say something that I wanted to keep to the end, just so I can know who commented when they got triggered by watching the middle and who legitimately watched all of my rant before making a statement, because I'm only going to respond to the comments that I see that people went through all of it. The thing that really pisses me off, and this is the most unfair thing of all, is that when corporations use their terms of service and they talk about hate speech and this shit, they talk as if the people legitimately want it. They basically say, we would want to have everyone say whatever they want, but society or the people, they want extremists to be banned. Society wants the hate speech laws on our platforms. And I don't think this is the case. I think if you'd put it up to a vote, you'd see that the overwhelming amount of society doesn't give a single shit about hate speech and about extremists online. Not to mention, like, this is ridiculous. ISIS has an account on some of these social medias. And Alex Jones is, get the fuck off. Like this is all a lot of bullshit. I don't think society gives a shit. I think the journalists care. I think the journalists care because they're in competition with Alex Jones. Alex Jones is taking money away from these people. They want Alex Jones's subscribers. And by the way, Alex Jones's subscribers, by definition, would be hateful people too, wouldn't they? I mean, why are they watching Alex Jones's content? Why are they thumbing up? Why do they like that shit? If Alex Jones is a hateful person that's endangering people, why are so many of these followers also giving a thumbs up? Why aren't they banned as well? Why aren't everyone that thumbs up one of Alex Jones' video banned as well from social media? Because they're potential pay piggies, aren't there? They're potential clients. Potential people that can watch CNN now. It doesn't work that way. But that's what they think, at least. They think it's like, oh, they're looking at these people and they think, well, if we ban Alex Jones, maybe they're going to watch us. If we ban everything that's right-wing, eventually they'll have to watch us because there's nothing else to watch. And these people are in direct competition. So, of course, they're in their interest to get Alex Jones off of every single platform and to get everyone else that does news off of every single platform. So they're the only ones that remain. And then you have nothing else to watch. And if the social media would at least be honest about this shit, if at least they would come up and they would say, you know what, we decided to let Alex go off and to cut off Alex Jones because of a financial interest. We have a direct financial interest in this, and we don't want to work with Alex Jones anymore. I would have respect for them because at least you're not fucking up the guy's reputation more than it already is. I mean, it's Alex Jones, but it could be anyone, right? Like the idea that you're a hateful person, you're a bigot, you're this and that. Not to mention, like, do I really want extremists to be banned off these platforms? Like, this was actually a conversation we had at law school. Is it better to ban ISIS or to let them, right? Most people in the class, you know what they said? They said let them, because at least you can monitor them. At least you can see their activity. At least you can see what they're tweeting and what they're posting. And you can have an eye on them. If you ban them, they will go somewhere else. They will go somewhere underground, and you can't see them anymore. You can't find them. I mean, you know, that's just an opinion. I'm pretty sure other people can have a different opinion. Right? And we're talking about the most extreme, like the worst case, because if they are allowed to stay, then everyone should be allowed to stay. Honestly, like, this should be like the phone company, right? If you pick up a phone and you talk about the most extremist shit, it's not the phone company's responsibility, and no one is going to ban you. But if, let's say, you're sending a text message, an image message on the phone with child porn or something like that, it's not the phone company's responsibility to ban that shit, but the police is going to come and they're going to arrest you. It's your responsibility. You're the one who committed the crime, and you're the one who's going to pay for it. If you use the postal office and you pick up an envelope, and let's say you put cocaine or some illicit substance in it, you can ship it. You can definitely give it to the postal office, and you can ship it. But the thing is, if the police catches it, they're going to arrest you. If the police finds an envelope with that type of thing, they will go to the postal office. They're going to ask who sent it, and they are going to pin to you, and they're actually obliged by law to collaborate with the police officers in order to track you down and arrest your ass. That's how things used to work. And this is how things should work. I don't think it's up to Twitter to decide who gets banned or not. But I think anyone who does something illegal on Twitter, then Twitter has a responsibility to collaborate with the police to find out who the person is and get them arrested. But other than that, I don't think it's their responsibility to decide based on ideology. It's not their responsibility. They can do it, but it's not their responsibility. It shouldn't be. People should be vocal about it. People should demand this. The more people demand this, eventually a company is going to come up and they're going to be like, okay, we're going to give you what you want. But if people don't demand it and people keep making excuses for these corporations, they keep covering up for them, then you're never going to get that. Because the illusion is always going to be that, no, people like censorship. People like this shit. And again, you should be able to look at it and call it immoral. You know, just because a company can do it doesn't mean they should. I mean, look, supermarkets, for instance, right? Supermarkets decided in my town to put rat poison in the food they're throwing out so that homeless people don't eat the food. They can do that. It's their food, right? It's not illegal what they're doing. But there was a massive backlash against it because it was immoral. People looked at it and like, oh my God, that's fucking horrible. What are you doing? And they lost business. Why can't it happen here? Why are there so many people that like to suck dick from these corporations? Please explain to me so I can understand. What are you gaining from it? Why do you keep defending these people? Are you working for them? Are you getting money from them? Are you on the stock? Are you on the stock market investing in these people? Are you on the board getting money from them? Like, what exactly is your point? Like, I don't get it. Why on earth you, as a citizen, using these platforms would think like, yeah, you know what I want? Less content. That's what I want. I want more people to be banned. I personally don't know who to watch. I don't have a fucking clue who I should look at. I want the corporation to decide for me. You know, ban away, ban everyone that you think is bad, so that I don't have to stomach it. What is this shit? Well, I personally don't understand it. This type of mentality, like, oh, the corporation, they can do whatever they want. It's just, I mean, yeah, they can. Yeah, obviously they are doing whatever they want, and you're not upset. You're fine with it. Why? Because maybe it's not the person it's not the content that you consume. Right? I agree. You know what? I don't watch Alex Jones either. I didn't. I've started to now. I've started to ever since he got banned. I'm curious. What the fuck did he say? That is so upsetting that people... But anyway, that's the point, right? Like, it's not the content that you want, but don't you think that this weapon that they're creating to just digitally destroy a person is not going to be used against the content you want eventually? Because that's the thing that they're trying to do. They're trying to turn YouTube into the new cable, right? Like, this is not happening because of ideology. I mean, it has to do with ideology a little bit because Google is involved into politics, and but I think like the benefits Obama gave them, Trump can give them as well. It's not just that. It's also about money. You have these major corporations, the legacy media, that want to come on YouTube because they realize people don't watch television anymore, and they want to come to YouTube and they want to get rid of the competition. They want to get rid of everyone else that can take views away from them. And you can say, well, like, I don't watch political commentaries. I don't care about right wing, left wing. They're going to go after the beauty bloggers. Do you think CNN doesn't want a show with a woman that puts on makeup? And like, obviously they're going to compete with a beauty blogger. So they're going to go after them. They're going to go after the cooking channels. What, CNN doesn't have cooking shows? Do you think like they don't want that? Of course they want that. Even people like PewDiePie, like, why are you wasting your time watching PewDiePie? Why are you spending time watching PewDiePie when you can watch CNN? Or any other of the alphabet soup networks? You're taking money away from them by watching PewDiePie. They will go against the major big ones, right? Like, YouTube will still have, like, little people, like, the people with 100,000, 200,000 subs. But anything more than that is going to get the ban hammer quite fast. There's going to be just a couple of people. Everything else is just going to be what's on TV. And you're just going to watch. You're going to watch the cable that you used to watch on TV. You're going to watch on YouTube if their plan is going to be pushed forward. And I think it is going to be pushed forward. I don't see what's going to stop them, considering the reaction that we just seen what happens when Alex Jones is taken down. I'm curious what's going to happen when Lawrence Southern gets taken down. Because it's coming. Like, honestly, if you don't think it's coming, you haven't been paying attention. Probably her and then Stefan Molyneux. That's my assessment on it, right? Because they're the bigger ones that are coming after Alex Jones, and eventually it will end with Steven Crowder.